So he says here, Zak Baruch. So he says over here that okay, yeah, v'al kain. So therefore, okay, bezeh ba'atzmo ikar kocha bechira. This is the main aspect of bechira. This is the free will of an individual. Shel adam. Ki mi shezoche levchor b'chaim amitim, because somebody that's zoche to choose emet, the life of emet. Chaim amitim, real life. Ki hu bocher ha'ikar bederech emuno tefila. He's really choosing, the main thing that he's choosing a derech in emuna and tefila. Bechina derech emuna bacharti. We see that the word bechira, free will, is placed with emuna. That's the real choice of an individual. V'az k'sheyesh lo emuna shlema umarbe betfilot v'sichot lifnei Hashem yitbarach. And then we're going to relate this, by the way, in individual cases, how to apply this in one's life. So when a person has this aspect of amuna shlema, and he adds to his prayers, he realizes that this is the ikar in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She is zakel l'shuv elav be'emet, that Hashem should be mazaking me, and be mazak all of us to come to really attach ourselves to Him in truth. Shal yidei ze mamtik umavatel kol ha'klipot v'sitrach. From this itself, from you choosing this, that in itself sweetens all the judgments, and all the Yetzaharas leave you alone. Hanim shachin b'sharsha, that are drawn in that root, because it's like you're entering that chalul apanu, that vacated space, without any sophistication, and just from Amunah, and you're calling out to Hashem. So it's like you're sweetening the judgments in its roots, because the root of all those Yetzaharas is from that vacated space. So he says, so you sweeten those judgments. Tzimtzum shel chalul apanu. Azai ozra Hashem yisbarach. Then Hashem has compassion and He helps you. She is kel avodoto yitbarach betorah v'mitzvot. That He brings you to, He gives you the zechut to be able to serve Him through Torah and mitzvot. Umeir einov betorato, and He enlightens your eyes with the Torah. Ad shezoche lahavin betorah va'avoda. That until that one can understand through his Torah and his avoda. Ma she'efshar b'seichel enoshi. That a person can grasp in a human mind through Torah and Avodah. From this, you weaken all the power of the side of impurity. That really drawn from this aspect of shvira tekelim, from the broken vessels. Then you come to the next level. It's like you graduate. The first level is the level of the vacated space. The Yetzirah that comes from the vacated space. That's complete impurity. That's disgusting desires. So a person, what's the advice that he gave when you fall into those things? Chas v'shalom, you have to just dive into Hashem. No sophistication. Stop using your head. Just Amunah. Hashem, help me. I want you. I want to be close to you. Please. I don't want to be here. Please, Hashem, help me see you. I don't want to be seeing these things. Help me. Lift me up. Right? That. And he says, then you graduate. Then you come to the next level, right? The next level of the different klipot and the different husks, levels of separation between one and Hashem, that comes from shvir tekelim, from broken vessels. There are sparks of light. We're surrounded with tremendous sparks of light all the time. Even eating a kosher deli sandwich, there's sparks of light in there, right? But how can it be that one can prevent himself from falling again into temptation, getting distracted again? So he says in this, right? He comes from
the first one is no sophistication
and emuna, and calling and coming to the level of tefila, and just searching for Hashem, davening to Hashem. Right? What? Yeah, that was number one, and that's Be'ikar, really that's what pulls through everything. Right? That even he says that can get you to the next level, right? Then you can come to that next level, and also to break that. Shvirat kelim ba'atzmo nimshach gamken b'sharsho mitokef hatzimtzum shel bechinat chol ha'poli. Oh, so he relates it. He said, since the next level also, which is the aspect of the broken vessels, the sparks of light, is really only in creation, is only here because of the vacated space. Again, like there was a vacated space, and now you can have levels of Hashem, so to speak. It's hard to explain because it's Kabbalah, so it's like reality of a Kadosh Baruch Hu that exists on a certain realm and that the world can't contain that, so it breaks into another level until it comes to another level, until it trickles down until you have this world. Like you open your eyes and it's like, wow, there's like a table and a chair, and so this all came from a series of breakages, right? Until it's left in this vessel that you can now see things and touch things, right? So he says, and that since that also comes from the aspect of the vacated space, so we find that emunah and tefila is something that can sweeten everything all the way from like the most like hollow level of the vacated space all the way to the shiur, to Caleb, to this world as you see it, right? That's why Habakkuk says that everything is totally on one thing. Tzadik be'emunato yichya. What saves a person at the end of the day? It's not a sophistication. It's not all the lumdus, because even everything could be used the wrong way. Even chas v'shalom, even like even Torah, even like getting all chachmadik, like Rebbe Nachman explains once. He explains that eating from the eitz hadat, tov hara, even tree of knowledge. It's tree of knowledge. Torah. You could use it, God forbid the wrong. There's a reality of what's called an apikoros. A guy can learn the Torah in order to rebel against Hashem, to have sophisticated things, and to figure out ways of just to use it for his own achievements, so on and so forth, right? But he says the bottom line is, what can save an individual? You have to tap into that emunah and tefila at the end of the day. And that's what can pull you through on all the levels. On all the levels. A person, we're talking about a guy, he's a beginner and he finds himself in some Rahman al-Itzlan, like rave and who knows where, and he finds himself and he's like just davens to Hashem and bomb his heart, and it can take him out of that mess on his level. Or like you could have like a guy that's like a Rosh Yeshiva and he's battling with his own gaiva or whatever it is, insecurities, and it's all related to this aspect of tefillah, of relying on Hashem and begging and turning to Hashem on all levels. And all I believe all the fallings, all the downsets of all these levels is that when a person forgets about this. Right, it could be like a husband. He comes home from work. He starts looking at that he's the man, and the rabbi was saying the other day that a husband came home from work and it was like he gave a speech to his wife that it's my job to provide, to make the money, to put the bread on the table. It's your job. You're supposed to cook and clean and etc. Take care of you. And if you're not doing, then you're not doing your job. Then you're deficient. And they give such a speech, you could kill someone like that. You know what I mean? It's this attitude. Who the heck are you? Rav Arush says to his students, he says, you have to realize the fact that you're alive and breathing in the world is just a chesed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if they open up the books of judgment in the heavens, Hashem Yerachim, what would have happened? We're all here from Hashem's chesed. The second we're like, I deserve. Hashem's like, oh, you don't know what, God forbid, judgments open up in the heavens. Everything should be, our attitude, it's a matana. It's a gift from the heaven. This wife is the best wife. These children are the best children. And this, that. And if something goes in my life that doesn't seem right, it's because I deserve it. I probably deserve 1,000 times worse. And Hashem's being so kind to me to let it be handled this way. You know what I mean? You come with this attitude, you have a munah, you have a freshness. You approach your life with simcha, right? Sometimes you have to have a little fire to get to the simcha. Simcha is not just like, cracking jokes. Yeah, you have to, also have to crack jokes. It's important. We're mechazik that Indian, but in order to get to real emunah, real faith, you have to realize, what's wrong with my attitude? Maybe, something's off. You should know. Just a little confession. When I was a kid, everything I used to eat was like, it wasn't like made for me. I didn't feel like, I had to have my own, like my mom make me always like my own, zach, until I come, only when I started learning a little bit, like, wow, you have to appreciate a little bit, So I tried a little the chorma sabzi, okay, I'm willing, like a little bit this, that. No, believe it or not, no, there could be such a thing, Hashem Yerachim. You know what I mean? How far we could fall, Yeridat Dorot. It could be such a thing. And everyone, everybody is sure that's funny. Yeah, you gotta watch out. So yeah, we have a lot of things. So bottom line is, on your life, you have to find that sweetness, and you find that sweetness with your attitude, Habibi. If you daven, you spend that extra time to daven to Hashem about emunah, right? He says over here, just to finish off, he says that you could sweeten all of the judgments. Then everything, all of the Yetzaharas will like you'll mavatal them all. They won't have any power on you because you've sweetened them at their roots. Because you use that medium of prayer to Hashem. Shu bechinat emuna, because prayer and emuna, it's together. It's one thing. Emuna tefila. Al kain ikar yesod shel kol haTorah v'mitzvot. Therefore, the yesod, the foundation of all of the Torah and all the mitzvot, shem bechinat seichel, which is the aspect of seichel, hu gam kain rak al yidei tefila ve'emuna, is only based on this foundation of tefila and emuna. Bechinat kol mitzvotecha emuna. Right? It says in the pasuk. He's bringing pasuk in Tehillim. Kol mitzvotecha emuna. It comes to one thing, emuna. That's the shortage of everything. Valkin bezei ikar yisod kol koach habachira kanal. This is the yisod of all this aspect of bechira. Now after hearing this a little bit, this is all from the Kuti Halachot in Hilchot Pikadon from Rebbe Nachman, that he's explaining the words of Rebbe Nachman. We can understand a little bit of now what's my free will in the world. Now, after this piece, you can sort of like close this, walk away, and be like, now I know what the purpose of my free will in this world is. That what am I going to choose? What am I going to choose with my time? What am I going to choose as what's precious to me? And how am I going to implement that? By davening, by emunah, by exercising this emunah. Every second you stop yourself in the day, whatever time it is, you're makadosh 5 minutes. It's those 5 minutes you're infusing your emunah. I remember, like when you're younger, like sometimes, I remember I would come back from school. It's like nobody at home, right? So you have a prime time. You find yourself. It could be where in your life, wherever you are, you find a slot that there's nobody around, and that's your time. You could mamish daven to Hashem, and they used to find all the tzaddikim used to do this. They used to like cry. They found the Chofetz Chaim once. Right, the Chofetz Chaim, that all the Litvish yeshivas is based on the Chofetz Chaim. They used to find the Chofetz Chaim sometimes in the middle of the woods, screaming to Hashem at the top of his lungs. One time, as a woodcutter, he thought there was a fire. He came with like buckets of water. He saw the Chofetz Chaim. He said, "What's the matter?" He said, I'm just davening to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Everything's okay, You know what I mean? Like, imagine. That's the way all the Hasidim used to daven like that. They used to mamish daven like this. They go into the woods. They used to scream to Hashem in the middle of the nights. Rabbi Nachman said, I don't want you guys to be like, he's like quiet, like nice bacher. And he's like, you have to be like, just like there's wild animals in the woods that are like, hyenas that are screaming out to Hashem. He's like, you should be wild animals for the Borei Olam. You should be mamish arumim bedas, like Adam be'ema to Hashem. You have to mamish cry out to Hashem like wow. You have to be wild. You have to be like fire. It can't be like Yiddishkeit. You're holding your saver like you have to use. It says b'chol avavcha. It says in the Shema you should serve Hashem with all of your hearts. What do you mean all of your hearts? 2 hearts. There's 2 parts of the heart. The Tanya brings down. There's 2. There's a Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. The Gemara says, right, that you're supposed to serve Hashem also with your Yetzer Hara. What do you mean serve Hashem with your Yetzer Hara? How do I serve Hashem with my Yetzer Hara? My Yetzer Hara is bad, right? Yetzer Tov is good. No, serve Hashem with your Yetzer Hara also because your Yetzer Hara is a fire. That enthusiasm, that brand, that fire. Serve Hashem with that fire. When you have that 5 minutes, grasp onto Hashem, help me get out of the craziness of this world. The only things that are important for me is like, money and, my Rolex watch and this and like my car and what's happening to me. Like that, you could come out of that. You could be in the Rolex watch, in the car, just like a puppet. But you know that this is not what's controlling you. And this has nothing on you. And if you can have that, then you could be like you could be a tzaddik. Being a tzaddik, it's not just like, only for the tzaddikim. No, every person can be a tzaddik, right? Like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he had riches. He had a mansion. He had a mansion. But he said, not this much didn't control me. Not this much of all this. I'm completely free. A person can do that. You beg Hashem, you set that time. It's daven to Boris Baruch. You could be on fire. Your soul could be on fire. Don't let it faze you. You have to and beg for that. That's the bechira you have. That's what they're saying. What's your free will? What free will? You're davening for your Shemayim every day. Ashivenu, Hashem, help me do tshuva. Help me. Well, doesn't it say free will? How do you? What's the answer? There's no answer. You know what the answer is? Yeah, it's your free will to realize, to beg for that, to beg for Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's in your hands. Your Shemayim is in your hands. It's in your hands to realize that you have to beg for it because it's in Hashem's hands. It's like a